What's going on, you guys? Nick here with Nick Strength and Power. I've got a couple of interesting stories for you guys today. Actually, a lot of them are really interesting, but we're going to start with the more normal stuff first. You can get to some of the more interesting stuff towards the end. So, the first story that I've got for you guys today, we finally got a physique update from Akim Williams. I was just talking about in my last video how Akim is kind of a guy that doesn't really post a whole lot of physique updates and how we haven't really saw much from him during this Arnold Classic prep, except for like 8 or 10 weeks out. So we finally got a post from him today at 3 weeks out from the Arnold Classic, and quite frankly, he looks very impressive. You know, we already knew that Akim was a massive dude. He's got a ton of muscle. He's a great bodybuilder, but what we really wanted to see was what kind of shape he's in. And granted, this is only a side shot. You can only see one angle of his physique here, but in this shot, you can see striated glutes. You can see deep separations in his quads and hamstrings. But you kind of have to take it with a little bit of a grain of salt, because when you look at this, you can't really see much of his chest and shoulders because he's got this athletic tape on him, so you can't really see, the striations in the chest that well. You can't really see the striations in the shoulders that well because they're pretty well covered. You can't really see his midsection here because obviously his arms are in front of it. But this was kind of the point that I wanted to make in my last videos. Even though no one has really been talking about Akim as a potential top guy here, we haven't had really many updates to talk about at all. It's important to remember, last time he did the Arnold Classic, he was in the top 6, and he was at one point a top 6 Olympian. So I kind of had this feeling that even though we didn't see him, he probably looks pretty decent, and he's probably going to be a factor here. And based on this update, I do think we probably have counted out Akim in this lineup, and I think that he's probably going to be a guy, maybe not necessarily top 3, but if there's a first call out with 5 or 6 guys, I think Akim's going to be right there in it. And speaking of that, the next story that I've got for you guys today is Derek Lunsford recently did a Q&A on his IG Live where he answered a bunch of different questions. One question that he was asked was, what are his predictions for the top 3 at the Arnold Classic this year? Now, I don't know if he was necessarily saying these were the order he thought they would place, or he was just saying that these guys would be in the top 3. And he says Hadi, then Samson, and then Brandao, which I do think, to be fair, is probably a lot of people's top 3 prediction. Right now, that's my top 3 prediction. I think those are the 3 guys that are likely going to be in the top 3. I don't know in that order necessarily. But I think this would be a good time for you guys to let me know in the comments down below, what are your top 3 Arnold Classic predictions for this year? And do you agree or disagree with Derek's predictions of Hadi, Samson, and Raphael? Because now we're seeing updates, of guys like Akim, and then like the next guy that we're about to talk about, Horse MD, who has had quite the run this year. So let's talk about Horse. Horse posted this update, similar to Akim, it's a side shot, a side tricep, where I think the most impressive part about this pose is his legs, and that's kind of always been what he's known for, is having these crazy legs, and I think that's where the Horse nickname comes from initially. He's got legs like a horse. I think that's the whole point of the nickname. But his conditioning here is looking really good. He looks really dry. He's got this grainy look to his quads. You can see this grainy look to his midsection, his obliques and his serratus area on the side there. Grainy, defined, vascular all throughout the upper and lower body. He looks like he's going to be in pretty tremendous shape here. And I saw a side-by-side shot that Brazil Bodybuilding News posted. Obviously, Marcelo Horse MD is from Brazil. And it was a side-by-side shot of his most recent side tricep next to Samson's most recent side tricep. And I do think this was a cherry-picked shot, and I can see why they put this side-by-side, because Horse looks pretty crazy in this side shot. I don't think that Horse is going to beat Samson at the Arnold Classic, but I do think he's going to do very well. And I also think that while I think this shot is cherry-picked, I think it is still a really favorable comparison for Horse, even though I think he's not going to beat Samson. I think that he does look good next to him. There's no denying that. And I think if you had side-by-sides right now of all the other poses, you would still make a pretty strong argument for Samson in that comparison. But I thought this was just an interesting side-by-side to show, because even though it's a cherry-picked shot, I think it does show the quality of a bodybuilder that Horse MD really is. I think he is going to do really well here, and I think he's likely going to be top 4. I have a feeling Raphael is going to edge him out for 3rd, and Horse will be like right there in the mix. maybe in that 4 or 5 spot. But we're going to find out in just a few short weeks. Now, next up in the news, this is one of those stories where I feel like if your girlfriend walks in and you're watching this story, she's probably like, what the hell are you doing? And I was thinking that when I was looking at this, and I was like, what am I doing looking at this and thinking about making a video about this? But it is significant because what we're looking at here is Nick Walker hitting the infamous moon pose. Now, obviously, it feels kind of silly to be watching this, but the significance, obviously, is the injury that took him out of the Olympia this past year was the hamstring injury. So the significance of this update is him specifically trying to show his hamstrings and how far they've come in terms of recovery since that injury, as far as getting back to normal, because right now he would be, I believe, 14 weeks out from the New York Pro. But I think this is an important update because you really can see the progress he's made in his hamstrings since that injury. They look like they've come back quite a bit, and they look pretty, because what you're looking at here is there going to be an imbalance between the two legs, the injured and the non-injured, and they look pretty balanced. They look pretty proportional to each other, and it's hard to even tell in this update which one is the injured one, which I think at the end of the day is a very good sign for Nick Walker fans as we go into the New York Pro. He looks like he has recovered pretty nicely from it, so as silly as it feels watching this video and talking about this particular update, I do think it's an important one for Nick. And he also posted another update today, just kind of a front relax shot, where he looks pretty wide. And when I say wide, I mean his taper looks really good in this update. His waist looks small, his shoulders look wide, he's flaring his lats in the front. I think a lot of people are more than ready to see Nick Walker get back on stage. And a lot of people still really disappointed that they didn't get to see him compete at the Olympia this past year. But I have a feeling he's going to come back stronger than ever at this New York Pro. I think the injury was just a minor setback for a major comeback. And after that update that we looked at earlier, I think you can tell he is recovering. He is recovered from it. So I think that was worth pointing out. So for the final story today, let's talk about this interesting one. This one was a little bit weirder. So let's start out with Tyler Mannion just put out a statement an hour ago. Then we'll talk about what this statement is in reference to. So Tyler Mannion, the vice president of the NPC/IFBB, put out this statement. If you don't see an official announcement from one of our official pages, then it isn't the official news regarding the organizations, the NPC Worldwide, and the IFBB Pro League are not adding any divisions and are very pleased with the divisions we currently have. Then he tags all of their official social media. So, what is this post in reference to? I'm sure most of you guys have seen it. It's gone pretty viral today. A men's wellness competitor in Brazil. Obviously, wellness is one of the female divisions, in addition to figure, bikini, women's bodybuilding, physique, wellness, and fitness are all the women's categories. Wellness is the one that focuses on the lower body and the glutes. So there was a post. In the first place I saw this, and this happened in Brazil, I saw this on Brazil Bodybuilding News on their Instagram. So what this was there was a competition in Brazil where there was a male competitor looking to compete in wellness. So it's important to point out here that this was a competition that was not an NPC or Pro League competition. It was not even an IFBB Elite Pro competition. So no, there is no new men's wellness division. But what happened here was, essentially, they had a man that wanted to compete in the female division of wellness. So rather than letting this guy compete against females in female wellness, essentially the promoter created just a division just for this guy, a male wellness. But the purpose of this was to keep him from competing against the women. And the promoter of this show actually left a comment on this post kind of explaining that, the inequality with sports when this type of thing happens. But if you think about it, this was kind of the right thing to do. He said, we're going to make a category just for them. We're not going to allow them to compete against a biological female, but we're also not going to disqualify them and say you can't compete. So they kind of just made a special division for this guy and gave him a special little trophy to let him show up and participate. That's really all this was. And again, it's not a reflection of the NPC. It's not a reflection of the IFBB. I think most people are in agreement. They don't want to see a men's version of wellness in the NPC or IFBB. And the reason why is because most of these divisions exist or were created in the first place because of demand. People wanted classic physique or men's physique. They wanted these options. And they became so popular and there was so much demand that they created these divisions. I don't think there's very much demand for a men's wellness division, if any at all, outside of this show. And again, this show was not affiliated with the NPC or IFBB. I don't think, I've seen a lot of outraged debates and discussions about this. I don't think we're in any danger of seeing in the pro league or the amateurs of the NPC or IFBB of ever seeing a men's wellness division. I don't think it's ever going to happen. I don't think this is like a precursor to that. From everything that I read, this seems to be just a very isolated incident. And I will say, by the way, this is one of the things that I really like about Tyler Mannion, and I think he's doing a really good job in handling, is this just went viral like this morning. And already now, by this evening, Tyler has officially addressed it on the official social media just to shoot any rumors down. So I like that he is that active and engaging with the fan base. He lets you know right away, yes or no, this is or is not true. So I thought that was cool. But let me know in the comments below your thoughts on this situation. If there is a biological male that wants to compete in a female division, what should the answer be? Even if it's not in the NPC or IFBB, what is the solution to that problem? Is it no, you can't compete? You have to pick either a men's division or a women's division. We're not going to make a special division for you, which I kind of feel like is the appropriate response. It's not excluding them from competing. It's, look, our organization has these for men and these for women, and you can pick one of the two. Because apparently this person identifies as a man, since they're calling this men's wellness. So I think it'd be a pretty easy answer. If you identify as a man, you pick a men's division and do that. I don't know. This is a touchy one. I'm not going to touch on this. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. Nick Strength and Power, signing out. All right, guys, don't forget to click that like button and subscribe to this channel if you enjoy the content. Also, check out my Instagram at NickStrengthPower, my Facebook page, which is simply Nick Strength and Power, my secondary YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Vlogs, for vlogs and bonus content that you will not see on this channel. And consider subscribing to my third YouTube channel, Nick Strength and Pokemon, which is all things Pokemon and trading card games, completely unrelated to this channel. So if you're into that, give that one a look. And all links to merchandise and social media will be in the description box below. If you guys want a Nick Strength and Power t-shirt, that will be in the Shopify link below. Have a great day.